She has been with us since 2011.
2010.
10? Oh, I'm sorry.
The reason I know it's 2010 is that's when I retired. And actually, that's part of my story. I love to knit. My Aunt Millie taught me to knit when I was 10 years old back in Minnesota. But you know, living here in California, and I have 5 granddaughters and I have 2 great-granddaughters, and you can't really knit a lot for them. I mean, they are tired of the slippers and the scarves, and you all know the words to that song, right? Well, so I retired, and that summer I was going through Orange County Fair, and here was this table, and I got sucked in. And I thought, oh my gosh, now I can knit to my heart's content, and it will be appreciated. So that's what I've done. That is my story, but there's a little bit more to it, because then I met Christine, and who I think the world of, and is just such a marvelous and wonderful person. And I also got to be involved in the packing. It is, if you haven't done it and you have a Friday free and you can do it, it is the most astounding thing. And I think what the most astounding thing for me was that all of these people all over the United States, sitting at home just like I am, knitting away, or those who crochet, and then they send them in. And each one is a story. Each one comes from the heart. And I know, looking out at all of you, each one of you have done the same thing. You've had that same experience of packing up those hats that you lovingly put together and sending them off, knowing they're going to a head and a heart. So I thank Christine for being a part of this. And also, last summer we lost my stepson. And when he first came down with cancer, Christine sent him several beanies, and he held on to those until he got to the point where he didn't need them any longer, and he passed them on to a dear friend. So you just keep on giving, girl.
See what I mean? Right from the heart. Okay, our next speaker is Lisa Flores. You've been here since 2012. Is that right? Oh.
Thank God I didn't trip. So some of you may know me as Christine's admin, and that's my self-appointed title. And I love working for her, and it doesn't feel like work. It feels so much more than that. And for those of you that have never been behind the scenes, it can be so silly. We have such a great time. We look at all the beanies and all the blankets, and you guys do beautiful work. Just amazing. And I feel like I know you all because I input all of your names, and every week I put the count in, and so I see your name and I feel like I have a connection to you. And I'm getting overwhelmed. It feels like I have hundreds of friends. So I thank you for what you do, and I know the time it takes because I make those hats too. And the love that goes into it is just phenomenal. And how I got started with Knots of Love was totally a fluke. I went to Brighton stores, and anybody that knows me knows I have a problem and need professional help. And they had a little gathering for breast cancer awareness, and somebody had mentioned, you can volunteer more than just money. You can volunteer your time, and how precious is that? And so I went home and I looked it up online. I found Knots of Love, and I thought, I want to do this. I wasn't working anymore because of medical reasons. I didn't know what to do with myself. And this gave me a purpose and felt like I was a valued individual. And so for me, it was life-saving, and it was life-changing. And I'm sure there's some of you out there that feel the same way. It really touched your life in a totally unique way. So I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing and do it in public so people see what you're doing and get interested in it. And thank you so much for coming today.
If you haven't all looked at her table over here, you must see this bunny rabbit that she made and the dolls that she makes. I mean, she's phenomenal. Okay, our next one is Marie Herman. Marie, where are you?
I think I could probably just say ditto to everything that's been said and leave, and that would be fine. But about 2 months ago, Christine got an email from a reporter who asked some information about Knots of Love, and so she called me over, and she knows I was a teacher and I like to write, and so she said, would you answer this person? And I said, sure, I'll do it. And so after a couple of days, I thought about what Knots of Love was, and I wrote down my story. And so like most volunteers and cap makers, it began when I ran out of friends and family to give my knitted goodies to, just like you did. And let's face it, knitting Afghans in the middle of summer is not fun. So, at the Orange County Fair, I came across a booth for Knots of Love, and I decided that I would become, that they would become the recipients of all my knitting goodies, whether they were good or bad. So, I was still working, but I gave whatever I could in the time I had. So soon I got to be on the mailing list. After a while, there came a request for volunteers to work at the Knots of Love booth at the county fair. And for purely selfish reasons, I signed up. Because you've got to go to the fair for free. And you got free parking. So I just kind of signed up. I thought, well, this is a win-win situation because I can go in first thing in the morning, get it over with, and I have the whole day at the par for free with the free parking. So the first day that I was there, we were there too early, and I remember it being very cold and empty. And all of a sudden, this woman came up to the booth, and she was very frail, and you could tell that she was going through some kind of an illness. And she started looking at our caps. And her husband made the comment that nobody should have to go through the treatments for cancer that she has gone through. So she kept looking at our caps, and finally she found this one that was a purple one, and I'll never forget it. It was a light lavender. It matched her dress and her eyes. And so I went on to explain to her that these caps were for free and that she could have one. So she picked it up, and I finally encouraged her to try it on, and she did, and she just struck this little pose. And she just changed completely. Her eyes shone, and she was so happy, and I thought, oh, this is just wonderful. So a year later, I kept working, and finally I came my retirement. And that summer, again, I was at the fair with my free parking. So I told Christine, hey, look, I'm retired now. You were in Costa Mesa, I'm in Fountain Valley. If you need some help, just give me a call. Well, I didn't know what I was getting in for. First of all, you have to understand that the shipping center is actually Christine's home. You walk in, the kitchen is her office where she makes her calls. We have a very long table that we sort through. Her living room is where all the caps and packages are stored. In the spare bedroom is where Vera and Lisa and Sue work to put all these together. And then poor Dee gets the little closet. And that's a good thing she's short because it doesn't take up a lot of room. So anyway, as you heard, these caps come in from all over the United States from people. They come from, we've gotten some from England, and last month I opened one from Indonesia. Wow. So some of them only contain one donation, or they can contain over the caps. Some of the caps we get from beginners who've never done a project before, and this is their first time knitting. Others we get that are just fantastic. And they're so precise and detailed. It's just amazing what we have. They come with bows, they come with flowers, they come with pom-poms, and every color imaginable. The caps are for everyday wear. They're extra soft for sleeping. We receive fashionable caps for young women, comical animal designs for children, patriotic for veterans. If there's a request, like the one for the Green Bay Packers, Christine will do her best to make sure that it gets to that person within the next 48 hours. Every cap that comes in and baby blanket, stuffed cover is donated, is inspected, tagged, bagged, and mailed to hospitals, infusion centers, and clinics all over the United States. We get them from Alaska to Florida, New York to California. Each and every donation is acknowledged by a phone call from Christine, an email by Lisa, or a special note. New members receive a packet coming to them, welcoming them to our little group, and I might say that Gloria's in charge of seeing that those get out every day or every week. And then we get the letters. We get thank you notes from people who have worn our caps, or we get a note from a daughter, a husband, or a family member telling how much receiving a cap brightened their loved one's day, or just made them feel more beautiful. We hear those who have come to recover and no longer need or want a cap. I wish I could say that I'm no longer that selfish person, but I can't. I still want that free parking. I'm so fortunate that each Friday I get to be a part of this great big circle of love. I get to be just one of the many, many people who so unselfishly give of their time and talents for someone they may never meet. And at the end of the day, I realize I'm just one person giving another person who's receiving. It raises my spirits and it restores my faith in the goodness of others. It just makes me feel good to be there on Friday. So.
Well, I'm last up for this. I'm not sure what's left to say. I met Christine, I think you had started a month or two before I met you, and I saw her in the Register newspaper, and here's this beautiful woman, this big smile with her arms filled with caps, and she's talking about starting this organization, and I thought, same thing. I could do this rather than my Afghans I'm notorious for making. And after meeting her and getting involved, you can see it's stuck. I mean, it's been 10 years now, almost 11. But before that, we had lived overseas for many years, and I came home in 2000, and I didn't really have a purpose anymore. Overseas, I was involved with philanthropies and doing things in Malaysia, but came home, became the party girl for the golf course, doing every event, doing every centerpiece, doing every raffle, having a good time. But it was meaningless. And there was a void in my life. I needed to do something that was worthwhile. Trying to make sure the ladies are happy with their salad wasn't doing it anymore. And so I jumped in with both feet, and every year I say, I'm not doing this anymore. And every year I'm back. So it's been the highlight of my last 10 years. I have loved every bit of it. it's just a good feeling. I used to make my caps and try every single one on, and I would sit and say, I wonder where it's going. I wonder who's going to wear this. I wonder if it's a young man or a young woman, you know. And I quit doing that because I don't have time to try them all on anymore. But I encourage you all to get involved, and if you haven't done a Friday, do that, because it'll really let you understand how this all works and how much work goes into it to make it work. And to have sent out 400 and how many thousand? 430,000?
Yeah.
It's pretty phenomenal. And by the time we leave, it's pretty good. Yeah. Don't forget Lori back here. She's waving at me that she needs people to work in the office if you want to get involved with that. So before I sit down and we start the raffle, I just want to say thank you to all of you. It's very special that you're here. It just warms my heart. Our centerpieces today, they're $15 for the pot, the plate, the whole thing. And those come all apart. You just yank them out, take the wrapping off the flowers, clip off the stick, and you can sew every one of those flowers on your caps. And I think that you'll have a lot of fun with them. I made them that way so you could use them. I don't like anything you can't use. If you want extra butterflies, there's a few back here. They're $2. And if you want an extra bookmark, there's some back there. They're $1. So you can just come see me at table 10 if you want to take your centerpiece or anything, okay? All right, Sue, are you ready to start this party?